Do you have one of these and not one of these? But boy, do you wish you could play it on one of these. Don't throw the game system out or sell it. Modify it. With just a few extra dollars and a little bit of effort, you can get this guy working on your modern TV. Hey everyone, Reverend C here. Today we're going to be modifying an Atari 2600 Junior to work on a modern television. This is the 4-button version. This mod should be similar for the 2600 VCS 4 and 6-button versions, so let's go ahead and get started. Here are the tools I'm going to use. A helping hand to help with the soldering, a trusty screwdriver set, a voltmeter to test the power, a drill to make the access holes for the RCA connectors, my old Field Tech set which includes a soldering iron, solder, a solder sucker, pair of dikes, very handy pair of needle nose pliers, and a pair of wire strippers. Let's have a look at the Atari 2600 Junior. This was the final run for the 2600. You can see the serial number. All of these were made in Taiwan. It is the only version with an on-off LED light, and the Junior has 4 buttons like the latter version of the VCS model. Using the helping hand to test for the AC adapter. As we can see, we have no power. Looks like we'll be going on Amazon to look for a new one. Let's take our Junior and flip it upside down. There are only 5 screws to worry about. Make sure to proceed with caution. After all, this console is almost 40 years old. Also be mindful of the 3 tabs that need to be pressed. There is one here, and one here. I wasn't mindful. Once opened and the top flipped over, be careful when unplugging the ribbon that connects the button assembly to the motherboard. Remember, it is almost 40 years old. Looking at the Junior from a bird's eye view, this is the on-off button. This is the AC jack. I like to take a little low-grit sandpaper and just clean it off some. This is the kit we are going to use. Shout out to VintageGamingAndMore.com for making this kit. This kit is pre-assembled and has everything you need, such as the board, wiring, and RCA jacks. Go ahead and check out their site. First step. There are these little tabs on the board that hold the shielding. Carefully bend them and take the shielding off. Now that the shielding is off, you want to focus on the bottom right-hand corner. This transistor here is the Q4 transistor. This transistor has 3 little pegs which you can simply snip off with your dikes. The next one you have to focus on is R56. If you forget, the sequence from right to left is tan, green, tan, green. R56 is a tan one. Go ahead and snip it off. Try to clean off the heads with your soldering iron as best as you can. Towards the center right of the board, you will also have to remove the C33, which is the first green transistor starting at the top, as well as the R17 just diagonally to the left. Must be removed. Towards the bottom center of the board, you will find A3, that's alpha 3. Go ahead and open it up with your soldering iron. Here's a closer look at what the new board looks like. As you can see in this video, this is power, this is ground, and the red and blue is audio. Here is what the board would look like soldered to the motherboard. This is going to be the first part of soldering you will need to complete. The next part of soldering is soldering the RCA jacks. Go ahead and create a template for yourself where you want to drill your holes. This is my template. Here is a peek at what the RCA jacks are going to look like. Now for this reason, you will not want to return the bottom part of the shielding back onto the motherboard because it will just be too high and it will cause the RCA jacks to bump. This template was created using this HDMI upscaler. Now this little guy is what we're going to use to transfer standard def to high def for the Atari 2600. Take your drill with a universal bit and drill slowly. Don't make the holes too big for the jacks. You don't want to go past 1/4 inch. The Atari 2600 is mono, therefore I chose to solder across both left and right jacks so that at least it's pushing sound out of 2 ports and not just one. Carefully reconnect your ribbon cable. Make sure your switches are aligned before putting the case back on. This knob here is called the potentiometer. This is for color tweaking. The shield is not required, but I chose to put mine back on. I ended up afterwards sticking the board onto the motherboard itself. Some cutting will be required for the wires to pass. With the system hooked up, I'm using this small LCD HD TV to test the system using a Sega Master System controller. There is no better controller for the Atari 2600. You can also use a Sega Genesis controller. This is the traditional joystick. This one actually came from an Atari XE computer. I'm going to be using 3 types of cartridges during this test. First are some of the original cartridges that were made for the VCS by Sears and Roebuck. This Pac-Man is in rough shape, so I'm not expecting much. However, this missile command appears to be super clean. The next is an aftermarket Parker Brothers cartridge. This happens to have been my favorite game as a kid, Return of the Jedi. The first 2 brands, the Parker Brothers, which is this Return of the Jedi one, and the Sears and Roebuck, actually were made in America, believe it or not. This third is a bit of a new school cartridge, Dark Chambers. These red labeled cartridges were released towards the 2600's final run. All of these, I believe, were made in British Hong Kong. With these different generation of cartridges, this should be quite a test. Let's first try this Pac-Man cartridge on the small HD TV in standard definition and see how it holds up with the new mod. As you can see, there is a little ghosting on the page, and there are some bars going down the page as well. Now this could be the cartridge itself, as I'm pretty sure that the maze in Pac-Man should be orange and not green. Pac-Man itself for the 2600 was not a very good port. So, let's go ahead and try Missile Command. Not looking very good for an upgrade, guys. Same thing. I'm really starting to have second thoughts about this upgrade. But let's push through and let's go ahead and jump to Return of the Jedi. Again, we're seeing the same problem with Return of the Jedi. Let's take a step back and do a little research. After a little research, we learned that the 2600 Junior has 2 things different than the 2600 VCS. For starters, it doesn't have the same level of shielding, which means any other type of wireless device could cause interference. The second issue is that the Junior does not have the same power level as the VCS. One solution is to plug it directly to the wall jack and not an extension cord or power strip. So we've removed the additional wireless devices and plugged the AC adapter directly to the wall. Now let's give Pac-Man another try. Now we have no bars scrolling through the screen in Pac-Man, although the color still looks off to me. Maybe it is just the cartridge, or maybe a little adjustment needs to be done to the potentiometer. Now, let's jump to Missile Command. Missile Command looks pretty good. Now let's hit up Return of the Jedi. Now that looks great. So let's just go ahead and take a look at Dark Chambers. That red background really pops, and with it you don't notice any scrolling bars. This game actually looks beautiful on the screen. Now, let's just go ahead and try it in HD. Here is a shot of the upscaler behind the TV. It does have the option to go from 720 to 1080. I've gone ahead and set it to 1080 for this test. Let's give Pac-Man a try again. This test with Pac-Man is disappointing, but it could again just be the condition of the cartridge. You can see ghosting on the screen. Let's just put Pac-Man in the to clean pile. I'm gonna jump straight to Return of the Jedi. Jedi looks absolutely beautiful. Look at that. No lines, no ghosting. Now let's test the new school Dark Chambers. Dark Chambers does look clean, albeit there is a small amount of ghosting. The ghosting is only noticeable on a black background. However, nearly the entire game has one, so you will notice the ghost in 1080. I must say this mod can be worth it, may be worth it, if you stick to standard definition over high definition. I didn't test the 720, but I'm going to hazard a guess that the ghosting will diminish, but probably not leave entirely. Standard def for the win. Well, we have reached the end. I'd love to read your comments down below. If you tried this mod, how did it go? Were your results any better? Were they any worse? Once again, this is your boy Reverend C from Reverend C's Corner. Thank you for stopping in, reminding you to click like, subscribe, and share the videos. And as always, everyone, I'd like you to stay safe, be ye kind one to another, and peace out. I will catch you on the next one.